Hello, good morning, welcome. I'm Nicky Ramsey. I'm the Chief Executive at Edinburgh University Press, and I'm just thrilled to welcome you all to Edinburgh this morning and to the 5th University Press Redux Conference. It's our first in-person Redux since 2018, and it's just wonderful to see so many of our University Press community here for what I think promises to be 2 days of exciting, thought-provoking and inspirational sessions and conversations. We have over 190 delegates here from Asia, Europe, the Middle East, North America and the UK. They have travelled here by train, plane and even by boat. I'm looking at you, Peter Berkery, I can't see you. Peter, from the Association of University Presses, I think has taken possibly the most glamorous old-school journey to get here. Find him in the break and he can tell you about that. And speaking on behalf of EUP, we're so pleased that we have the chance to curate and host this conference in our 75th anniversary year. Our conference theme, Connecting People and Ideas, speaks to what I think is unique about the University Press community. United by a mission to share trusted knowledge, we have a commitment to collaboration, communication, sharing ideas, and learning from one another. I'm not sure there's another sector within the publishing industry that works together in quite this way, and it's what makes me so very proud to be a part of this world. We've therefore tried to ensure that there will be lots of opportunities for you to engage with the speakers, the panelists, and other delegates, and for networking with colleagues throughout the conference. And overall, we hope that you'll come away with a strong sense of practical lessons learnt and connections made that you can take into your day-to-day working lives. So regarding the engagement, hopefully you've all downloaded the event app, cVent, and you can use this to find the conference programme and to ask questions during the sessions. We'll also have roving mics for you to use during the Q&A sessions if you prefer. Please wait for the mic to come to you before you speak because this is being recorded, and also say your name and organisation before you ask your question. We've also got the programme displayed on roller banners in the foyer and elsewhere, and we'll let you know at the end of each session what is happening next and where. Now, networking. I know that's a word that sometimes puts fear into people, and we may have some slightly reluctant networkers in the room, but you might want to find our favourite book of the year board in the sort of the atrium there, which we're hoping people might want to contribute to and might form a nice conversation starter. And I'd also encourage you to browse the AUP jacket and cover show, which is being displayed in the UK for the first time. And this is also in that place where you got your coffee just now. And we've organised a 20-minute accessible walk in the campus grounds this lunchtime, which is a nice chance to meet some new people while getting some fresh air. So if you'd like to do that, meet my colleagues Kevin and Izzy downstairs in the main entrance beside Arthur's at 12:45, and they'll make sure to have you back by 1:15 so you can still have some lunch as well. Housekeeping notices. Toilets are located just beyond the doors here and then also through on the other side outside the Holyrood and Salisbury rooms, and an accessible toilet and baby changing facilities are located in the main foyer. Fire safety. Please familiarise yourself with the fire action notices on display. The nearest fire escape routes are indicated by green coloured fire exit signage above the doors, you can see over there. There is no test scheduled for during the conference, so if you do hear a continuous electronic sound, you need to leave the building immediately by the nearest available safe route, closing doors behind you. Do not use the lift and do not re-enter the building until you've been notified by the fire assembly controller that it is safe to do so. For free Wi-Fi, search for Visit Ed, and there's a code that you need, which is on the roller banners and also at the registration desk. I think it's in the app as well. And those with university affiliations should be able to use EduRoam instead. Now, I have some very important thank yous that I'll conclude with. First of all, to our sponsors, our platinum sponsor, the PLS, our silver sponsors, CPI, Digital Science and Virtue Sales, our bronze sponsor, MDPI, and AU Presses, who are sponsoring our welcome reception. Thank you very much for your help with this, which has made it all the more possible. To all our speakers and chairs, thank you for the time you've taken to plan and prepare what I'm sure are going to be an excellent set of sessions that we're all looking forward to. To our friends at Alps, Leslie, Susie, Joe, Amanda and Wayne, and the EUP conference team. Bear with me, Alex, Charlotte, Chris, Izzy, Kira, Kevin, Poppy, Rachel, Terry. It was a good team. They've all worked so hard to put together what I think is going to be a tremendous event. You've truly gone above and beyond, on top of your very busy day jobs, so thank you. And now I'm going to hand over to Will Crook, who's Head of Policy and Communications from our Platinum sponsor, the publisher's licensing services, to introduce our opening keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola, and good morning, conference. My name is Will Crook, and I'm the Head of Policy and Communications at Publishers Licensing Services, or PLS as we're more commonly known, proud platinum sponsors of the Alps University Press Redux Conference 2024. And it's a pleasure to be here at the University of Edinburgh and to introduce the opening keynote speaker. And I feel it perhaps an apt, opportune moment to highlight that this year PLS is celebrating 10 years of our Access to Research service. Now, for those who don't know, Access to Research gives free access to over 30 million academic articles to users in participating public libraries across the UK, which brings me very neatly to the subject of the keynote, the role of libraries in connecting people and ideas. And what an excellent speaker to have on that subject. With more than 25 years' experience across the library and cultural sector, including both public and academic libraries, there can be few with better insight into not only the importance, but also the key challenges around access to reliable and trusted information and the issues faced by libraries and the wider library sector, both now and into the future. Be that the rising use of artificial intelligence, or the political pressures on freedom of expression, or how the library sector and the publishing industry can work together to find solutions to common issues. Our speaker brings together a wealth of expertise and a passion for libraries and the important role that they play. So, I therefore ask you to please join me in welcoming to the lectern National Librarian and Chief Executive of the National Library of Scotland, Amina Shah.
Thank you, Will. It's lovely to be here, lovely to see you all. I'm Amina. This is my first time at the Redux conference. So first of all, I want to extend a huge thanks to Nicky and the team at EUP for asking me to do this introductory keynote and to share some thoughts and ideas. And secondly, I'd like to thank all of you for coming along to listen and extend an invitation to make this a conversation, not a broadcast, a blether, if you like, a good Scottish word. I'll be here for the conference today, and please, and the dinner tonight, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions, and importantly, your own experiences. For those of you who live outside Edinburgh, and I know you've come from all across the world today, I invite you while you're here to visit some of our libraries and bookshops. Edinburgh was the world's first UNESCO City of Literature, and we have some real gems. The Central Library and the National Library of Scotland are a good place to start, both opposite each other on George IV Bridge. And we've been home to some of the world's best-loved writers, the most renowned publishers, including Canongate, Edinburgh University Press, 404 Inc., Luxana, Flores, Polygon, Berlin. We have a rich networks of festivals celebrating books, poetry, literature, storytelling, among many other art forms. And in the world of work, and even in book business, of KPIs and strategies, we speak or have spoken too little of our personal connections and our feelings. But often, these are the very things that make people, whether they be our users, our audiences, our customers, care about our organisations and our products and services, for want of better words. Whether that be libraries, book selling, or publishing, it's personal. For many of us, the story of our relationship with stories, books, libraries, bookshops, words, is rooted in feeling, in connection with people and with place. So today, I'm going to share some personal stories with you. I'm going to offer some reflections on the role and the history of libraries and publishing and their interconnectedness. And then I'm going to give you an overview of some ways that we at the National Library of Scotland hope to connect people and ideas through our collections, spaces and services. Moving this on. So it's no exaggeration to say I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today if it wasn't for libraries. My parents met in the Mitchell Library in Glasgow in 1973. They came from different cultures, and it was in the library that they were brought together. My mum, a young library assistant from Maryhill in Glasgow, and my dad, a foreign student from Pakistan. I met my own partner, Kevin, in the library we both worked in, and many of my oldest and dearest and closest friends have been colleagues from working in libraries and bookshops. As a child, a trip to the library represented independence and freedom. I visited many, we moved around a lot, but Bruntsfield Library here in Edinburgh was the first I could walk to on my own, often via the sweet shop, and browse the shelves with wonder. I could take my pick of anything. Libraries cost me nothing, and yet I owed them everything. School libraries sheltered me from the storms of the playground. Bradford libraries are literally the reason I have A-levels, and also how I know all the words to the Smiths songs. Finding the record library there was life-changing. I had no money to buy music. University libraries gave me peace and essential resources. Not that I ever looked up the catalogues, which in those days were just green screen computers, microfiche or cards. I used to indulge in the pleasure of serendipity, of standing among the shelves where the literature books were and waiting for inspiration to jump out at me. While doing my work placement at the Mitchell Library in the 90s, I was taken to the safe, where I saw up close for the first time Audubon's Birds of America, maps that say parts unknown, illuminated manuscripts, Burns handwriting, the artifacts of the Madeline Smith trial. Look that up, it's amazing. Martin Luther's signed copy of the Bible. I learned the thrill of being up close to documentary heritage, the connection that comes from touching something that has been touched by people before, centuries before you. Later, as a young mum living in Glasgow, I used Partick Library, one of Billy Connolly's favourites, I hear, to get access to the internet. Didn't have the internet at home, to take books out on how to look after babies and what the hell to give them to eat, to search jobs online. When he retired, I took my dad to Shipley Library to read the Daily Jang, the Asian newspaper. Now visually impaired, my mum downloads audiobooks from Leeds Library so she can keep up her love of Val McDermott and Ian Rankin, despite being housebound by her sight impairment. If we're lucky, libraries are there for us in all the seasons of our lives. As the poet and previous Macker, Scotland's Macker, Jackie Kay, said in her poem, Dear Library, you've served me well all my life. You're my magnificence, munificence. You're a book festival every day. There's no way me, an OAP, could ever value what you've given me by money. There's no measure for the enriching of the mind, friend, faithful and trusty. Dear Library, you're a heart stopper, a kind giver. I treasure your lively silence, your pleasant librarians. They represent what a public service is truly, libertarian. Impossible, did I say that already, to put a price on that? Again, stop me if I'm repeating myself. Your staff will tell me of Saramago Street in a nearby town. Browse, borrow, request, renew. Lovely words to me. A library card in your hand is democracy. Jackie wrote that almost a decade ago, but how right she was to point out the connection between libraries and books and democracy. This is a battle we're seeing being played out across the world, starting as many things do these days in the USA. Libraries are becoming battlegrounds for freedom to read, to freedom to write, the freedom to publish. Following the London Book Fair in March this year, the International Authors Forum, PEN International, International Publishers Association, European and International Booksellers Federation, and the International Federation for Library Associations published the following joint statement. With the core purpose of providing access to a wide variety of written works for all, we've come together to support the freedoms to express, publish, and read. It's our belief that society needs enlightened citizens who, based on accurate knowledge and information, make choices and participate in democratic progress. Authors, publishers, booksellers, and libraries have a role to play in this, which should be recognised, valued, and enabled. True freedom to read means being able to choose from the broadest range of books, sharing the widest range of ideas. Unrestrained communication is essential to a free society and a creative culture, but it carries with it responsibility to resist hate speech, deliberate falsehoods, and distortion of facts. Authors, publishers, booksellers, libraries make an essential contribution to guarding this freedom. I recently visited New York Public Library, where they've established a banned books club. I can't believe that we're facing this challenge in my lifetime. I would never have believed it even 10 years ago. Australian libraries have seen a rising call of books to be removed from shelves and recently have made a statement. I don't find it surprising, however, that authoritarians are attacking libraries. They see them for exactly what they are, instruments of democracy and empowerment. And in an age where everyone has access to everything on the phone in their pocket, why attack books on shelves in freely available civic spaces? I wonder. As the Manic Street Preachers said, libraries gave us power, and one of the most potent elements of that power is the power of connecting people and ideas. Libraries, as a physical or online space, connect people to information and knowledge for education and research and enjoyment, from the past to the present and into the future. As one of my favourite writers, Elif Shafak, describes in her book, How to Stay Sane in the Age of Division, it's far better for the authoritarian regime to have us consuming information, or more likely misinformation, according to an algorithm, to stay in our tribes and for them to have knowledge of what we've been reading, of what we've been consuming. In Naomi Klein's brilliant new book, Doppelganger, which describes how COVID and the rise of algorithms have created a threat to community and to democracy, she describes this so eloquently. I really thoroughly recommend it. We all know this story. Fahrenheit 451, 1984, The Handmaid's Tale. The problem is we thought it was fiction. But libraries, of course, aren't doing this by themselves. We're part of an interwoven tapestry of writers, publishers, artists, creatives, booksellers, academics, journalists, digital producers, digital consumers, educators, students, the curious, the bold, the bored, the lost, the collectors and the collected, the old and the new. The relationship between libraries and publishers is a long one, and like many of my stories, I'll start it with a book, the first printed book. There are around 21 sets of Johannes Gutenberg's Bible, Europe's first printed book used with movable type, and you can see one at the National Library of Scotland down the road. Gutenberg's press could produce much faster and with more accuracy than the scribes. And by 1455, Gutenberg and his team of 6 typesetters changed the world of books and publishing forever. It was a tech revolution. Today in London, you can still visit the Stationers' Hall, home of the Stationers' Company, which came into existence when the manuscript writers and illuminators who had stalls around St. Paul's decided to move with the times and take up printing. The Stationers' Company gained the Royal Charter in 1557 and gave the company the right to search for illicit and pirated works. All new titles that were official titles were entered into a series of entry books, and in 1710 it was agreed that legal deposit libraries would collect a copy of each official book printed. In 2013, that act would be updated to include digital books. We're now in our 3rd century of collecting the record of the UK's publishing output. One of our most valuable industries, what treasure we hold. The wonderful advocacy document produced by the Publishers Association, Vision for Publishing, states the UK's publishing industry is truly world-leading. Publishing contributes to an extraordinary 11 billion overall to the economy, and the industry exports more books than any other country globally, which is phenomenal achievement for the UK. It also calls on us to work together to support literacies of all kind, the bedrock of democracy. Now in 2024, we see a different kind of technology disrupting the world, and this time the pace of change is faster. Artificial intelligence is in the headlines of every newspaper. Many of the ways we use technology are already adopting AI or machine learning. It's not new. Publishing, culture, and the arts are not new to technology. We're far from being Luddites. We've been at the forefront of it since Gutenberg's time. Creative industries are often the most imaginative and entrepreneurial, thinking of completely new approaches and uses for tech. However, a variety of voices, particularly authors and rights holders across the country, have been warning of concerns for some time now, including ethics, copyright, truth, and the possibility of the rise of machines to impact on human agency and how critically for us, the creativity and creation of new knowledge and research and the authenticity of the written word. The recent Apple advert for the new slimline iPad, have you seen it? It's quite literally squashed everything that makes us human into as small a space as possible. And the public's attitude to it, which prompted an immediate apology, is an example of where big tech has it wrong. We want tech to enhance our lives, not replace them. We still value human experience most. Libraries and publishing must work together to advocate for regulation which allows ethical and transparent use of AI to enhance human experience, human creativity, human knowledge, which can help unlock the wealth of that knowledge and creativity that's held within our collections to bring people and ideas together to solve some of the most pressing issues of today, the climate crisis, health and inequalities. We need to work together to ensure policymakers and legal frameworks keep pace with these technological changes, as they did, what the stationers did back in the 1500s. We can assess which books are created by humans and which are from the Wild West, generated by machines, feeding off the output of human creativity and intellect, which are representing facts and which are delusional. As Richard Ovenden, Bodley's librarian at the University of Oxford, said in his book, Burning the Books, the truth is under attack. So what are we doing at the National Library to support this? What are we doing to be a place to connect people and ideas, to celebrate the human connection and creation of new knowledge through connection to collections from the past? Before I get on to showing you some examples of our work, I want to first of all reassure you that we have created an ethical use of AI framework, which is just about to be published on our website. And the model we are using is one of curiosity and care. So we can talk more about that later, much to say, but over to some of the pictures. So just so you know where you're going when you're looking for the Gutenberg Bible, this is the National Library of Scotland. As you can see, the library was built in the days when it was about keeping the people out and keeping the books safe. We need to change that. We need a vibrant, open, welcoming, big space where people can collaborate. We're desperately needing an improvement to our George IV building so that we can have a library we're even more proud of. We also have buildings in Glasgow. We have a film and sound archive, which is also absolutely incredible and full of a wealth of information. And another building up at Causeway Side where we have jam-packed of books. I should also say that when you see the library from the outside, and these are our stairs going in, and Muriel's Spark on the stairs there, we have 13 floors beneath that of stack. So we have a lot of stuff. We want to be able to connect people when they come in so that they can see what we have and that they feel welcome there. In 2022, we opened this gallery, our Treasures Gallery. So what sorts of treasures do we have? Well, you might have heard of John Murray Publishing Archive. John Murray Publishing is now owned by Hachette, I believe, but we have the archive of John Murray, and that was acquired in 2006, and we still have a fantastic relationship with the Murrays. And through that, we have the most amazing collections of Darwin, Byron, Austen. But we have the ledger books from that publishing house and the correspondence which tells the story of the relationship that Murray had. And I don't know if any of you saw on the BBC recently, Rylan and Rob Reinder are doing a tour, the grand tour of Italy, and following in Byron's footsteps. And they speak of Childe Harold and lots of amazing things. We have so much about this in our collections, and much of that was about the relationship between Murray, the publisher, and the writers, where they used to hang out in Albemarle Street in his house, and I've visited there many times, and it's incredible. We've also been involved in acquiring the Blavatnik Honorsfield Library, which we did in 2021. And again, we did that in collaboration with libraries across the UK. And some of you might have heard about that. We had to raise £15 million, and we did it collaboratively to save these treasures for the nation so that they're in the libraries and publicly accessible. It was a fantastic collaboration and the first of its kind, and we hope that we can do more. And again, we added to many of our collections of Burns, Scott, Byron, these incredible treasures of the UK's literary output. We also have this amazing book. We could really give Ireland a run for its money here, and we don't talk it up enough. This is Iona Salter, written in around 1180, and my colleague Ryan here is one of our conservation specialists, looking after it carefully. It was written for an abbess on Iona. Absolutely fantastic. And look how that illuminated manuscript still beams out. You can sit and read that in our reading room. You'd struggle to read an ebook from 2014 because they use Flash Player and it's no longer available. What are fragile formats, really? You can also see one of my absolute favourites, Mary Queen of Scots' Last Letter. This grips my heart every time I look at it. Written in French to her brother-in-law, she says, on her deathbed, "Don't forget to pay my staff." This is a Pont map, one of the first maps ever written. Again, maps are absolutely fascinating to me and many others. They're by far our most used resource online. And we've been using AI, and so we've had some amazing donors that have supported us to look at machine learning of where we can overlay maps, old maps with new maps, to find out rights of way where people can walk. It's a fantastic resource. We had 60 volunteers in COVID, doing that work for the Ramblers Association. Absolutely fantastic and quite radical, actually. We have writers' archives, loads of writers' archives. This is Alistair Gray, the fantastic Scottish artist. You might have known about Poor Things. We're thinking recently about how we can use our collections to connect with modern culture and arts that are going on just now. So we're pulling out the Gray archive for a Poor Things display. And we're also desperately trying to get the attention of Taylor Swift, who's coming to Edinburgh and loves a bit of manuscripts and literature, I hear, as do many Gen Zs. We also have plenty of typewriters. We love to use our stories to tell collections about everything, and comics, and the story of publishing, and D.C. Thompson is one of Scottish strongest publishers, is truth. The Bruins also talks about Scots. It represents Scots, one of Scotland's languages, of course. Here's some kids enjoying the Beano in Glasgow, and actually, making sure that kids have access to these collections and building on that in the future is something really important for us in our next strategy. We love to celebrate Scotland's languages, as I said earlier. In our current strategy, Reaching People, which takes us up to 2025, we talk about the silences within our collections. Of course, many of them are around stories that weren't told, the stories of women. We did a Petticoats and Pinnacles exhibition, which was fantastic, telling the story of women explorers who had written diaries, but they just hadn't been published before. And they were climbing these hills in petticoats and heels, unbelievably in their tweed, but with gusto. But also as well as that, and our LGBT stories and the stories of colonialism and slavery that we haven't told before, we are also aware that Gaelic is a silence within our collections. It's been silenced across Scotland for many years. And we did our first dual language exhibition last year using one of our collections, John Francis Campbell of Islay, who had recorded folklore. And it was such a pleasure to see the Gaelic community coming in and enjoying those stories, which is really fantastic. We also take our collections out and our exhibitions out across Scotland. We don't do that enough. We are the National Library for all of Scotland, not just Edinburgh and Glasgow. But we work really hard with the public library network to try to make sure that we have those connections. We've got the Scottish Library and Information Council, who lead on strategy for public libraries, and their strategy, People, Place and Partnership, really talks about the value of all of those important things for Scotland. We also have incredible network of university libraries and Scottish Confederation of University and Research Libraries, and our Executive Director, Gillian Daly, is here today. She's been doing fantastic work on the Scottish University Press. Catch up with Gillian about that. Our fragile heritage is film, it's sound, but also newspapers are well used, and they literally are crumbling from beneath us. We've had fantastic sponsorship from a guy called Alex Graham, who's the inventor of Who Do You Think You Are, who helped us save some of this. And he also helped us pay for this fantastic woman, Claire, who's our paper conservator. It's really, these skills are necessary to save heritage. This is people looking at the Gutenberg Bible. Look at the excitement. Look at the excitement on these people's faces. How can you know that? That is just amazing. Ian Rankin, we all know, love to celebrate. We have his archive. He's a fantastic supporter of us and libraries. And this is about our living writers. We don't just collect things from the past. We develop and collect from today. This is Aidan O'Rourke, a Scottish musician, and we recently asked Aidan to come and play a concert in our reading rooms. We want to bring them to life, and he was using music within our collections. Music is another silence. What is the point of having sheet music locked away in 13 floors of stack? Music was meant to be played and heard and sung and enjoyed, and Aidan's helping us do that. As is Ned Bigham, the composer, who worked with our old Gaelic sheet music and created new music from it, which we've added to our archive. That continuous process of going from the past and creating new, reimagining, is wonderful. This is our Gaelic storyteller that we had funding from Bord na Gaelic to deliver. So we're not just about printed word, we're also about taking things out, talking to people, enjoying performance and storytelling, keeping on with the blethers. And this is Somer Osteg in Skye, the Gaelic Language College. Last week we enjoyed a parliamentary reception with them where we signed a memorandum of understanding. And that really exemplifies how we can do our work. This is Skye, by the way, looking over to Knoydart, which is one of the cleared villages. Knoydart has connections with all across the world, actually. I know that in Canada and America they still teach Gaelic in some schools in Nova Scotia. The way that we've worked with Somer Osteg and having an outpost, hopefully we'll do more work with them to build a library in Skye, a national library for Gaelic. That is what we want to do much, much more of, to help us take the library outside of the walls of where it is. And we can only do that through partnership and collaboration and relationships. That's so important to us. So I just want to end now with just back to some more poetry from another of Scotland's Macker. This is the incredible Edwin Morgan. When I worked in the Mitchell Library, one of my colleagues, Hamish, who has Marascat Press now, Hamish White used to go to Eddie Morgan's house and collect poems, and they would hang in the stacks, concrete poems just hanging from the stacks, waiting to become an archive. And his archive is split between the Glasgow University, Scottish Poetry Library, which is another library you should visit while you're here, and the Mitchell Library. But on the opening of the Scottish Parliament building, which you must see as well, Edwin Morgan wrote these lines: "Open the doors, let the light of the day shine in, and the light of the mind shine out." And I love that line and think that describes so well what civic buildings should be. But also, in the age of uncertainty, Eddie's words here in his poem, "At 80 unknown is best," makes me have hope. I think at the moment we really need to be bold in the face of the storm. We need to have hope for the future, because we can turn some of our biggest challenges into opportunities, perhaps for a new enlightenment, for a new age. He said, push the boat out, compañeros. Push the boat out, whatever the seas. Push it out into the unknown. Unknown is best. It beckons best. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much to Amina. That was a fantastic speech. Covered pretty much very thought-provoking, and covered everything from Gutenberg to Taylor Swift. So everybody's getting their money's worth this morning. Okay, we're going to go to a Q&A for a few minutes. Now, we'll take questions first from the room, and I think we were going to turn to the app as well later on. So does anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand, and a roaming mic will come straight to you. Well, it's obviously, we have two people there. If we go to the person there first, and we'll head to the person at the back afterwards. If you could just please say your name and then your question, please. That would be great.
Hi, Ginny Hendricks from Crossref. Thank you so much for that. I feel like the first thing to say is Amina Shah for First Minister. That might be a bit late.
Oh, God, no. You know what they do to women in politics, don't you?
I wondered, you told such a rich story of digitising and sharing all of this history of Scotland. Have you any partnerships with national libraries in Africa or other places that are really looking to digitise and share their indigenous knowledge and cultural heritage there? Because they could probably use some advice.
Yeah, fantastic question, actually. I actually know Kepi, who's the National Librarian in South Africa, because I'm part of the IFLA National Libraries CDNL network, which is a fantastic network. It's just so rich. Actually, as a National Librarian, you can actually feel quite lonely, because your experience isn't exactly like that of public libraries, and it's not exactly like that of university libraries or special libraries. But when you go into a room of national librarians from all over the world, it's really fascinating, because they're all got the same. We haven't actually explored working collaboratively with Africa on it, but what we have done so far, we've had a 10-year strategy to digitise things within our collections, and by 2025, by next year when we'll be 100, we had an ambition to have a third of our collections in digital format. We've actually done that already 2 years early. We achieved that target, which is great, but it's an ongoing process, obviously, because we get 7,000 items a week. So, we need to keep that up, although the digitisation relates to the things in the collections in the past. So we haven't actually had partnerships like that with Africa or other countries, but it's actually a really fascinating area. I know that the British Library have worked, I think it was around the India papers, and they worked with Qatar. We have had the National Library in Singapore has asked us for some collections of people who've been in Scotland, and then expats that have gone overseas, and they wanted to digitise some stuff. I think it was the Minto papers. And we've worked with them to help do that, but often it's where they have funding. Funding, I didn't mention it because it's a bore, but it's a constant challenge. And we are really having to think now about what we do and where we get funding from, and making sure that we are resourced to do what we have to do. So while working with others is a fantastic ambition and one we want to do much of, we have to really carefully think how we do that, because we've got a responsibility for things that are ours as well. Thanks for the question.
Excellent. We'll turn to the second question. The listener shout there.
Hi, Tim Corbett from Ubiquity Press. Thanks again for that lovely talk. You mentioned your ethical AI policy that's sort of coming up, and about sort of curiosity and care. I don't want to, in case it's coming up in a later talk, but Anything more you can kind of tell us about that and sort of some of the more... Quite often we hear about the sort of challenges of AI, and obviously there are a lot, but you talk about sort of curiosity. What are some of the bigger positives that you as a library are sort of seeing here?
Great. Well, thanks for the question again. So in April 2023, we actually had an AI symposium at the National Library of Scotland, and we had Professor Sir Adrian Smith, who was at that time Director of Turing Institute, keynoting, as well as Masood Koher, who's the University Librarian at Leeds University, Chris van der Kyle, who's a computer games specialist, and various other academics and PhD students that we've been working with and that work in the field. So when I say that, we're not new to this, we've been using AI, and I mean, everything we do now is, even when your Outlook predicts the document that you need to have that goes with that, it's all generated by artificial intelligence. And it was interesting because we had an ambition for about 6 months to organise that symposium, and then when we held it in April 2023, that was when it was peak AI mania, and every newspaper had it as a headline, and it was just brilliant timing actually, because it was really topical. But I would say that we are aware across the sector in libraries that there's real potential to unlock our collections using AI, in terms of the cataloguing, the metadata, to be able to we've got a data foundry at the National Library of Scotland where we're using collections as data and putting them up there and asking people to play with them. And there's extremely exciting and innovative projects that could happen around that. But we're also aware that our data holds biases, inaccuracies, historic prejudices that need to be addressed. And if we were just to replicate things willy-nilly, it's going to create delusions, mistakes. It's just going to cause more of the same problems that we had in the past. So our AI ethical framework, which we've developed and will be published very soon on our website, we've pushed it out to other stakeholders and been consulting with people, is about us being transparent, about us being fair, about us being clear where we're using AI, and us supporting AI literacy for others as well. We're also obviously really conscious of the impact on writers, as I mentioned, and creativity, but also on librarians and their jobs and roles, and how AI can be used to enhance what we do, not replace what we do. There's huge potential, as I've said, but I think that we know from our European and international networks that in Europe, for example, the law is different and it's caught up a little bit. And I think that the UK government is taking a different approach, and we need to work together, as I say, to make sure that we don't just throw caution to the wind here, but we protect rights holders, creatives, and integrity. And that we also are very clear when we're talking about that to the public as well, so that they're aware of what they're seeing. I've heard of academics who've got in touch with university presses looking for articles that have been created that are actually delusions, that don't exist, references that don't exist. And forgive me, all the men in here, but I do think that AI is a bit of a mansplainer. Like, if it doesn't know it, it just makes it up. And we've got to kind of get over that. It's not the answer, but we can use it, and if we have human and AI collaboration, we could probably do incredible things.
Thank you, Amina. It's a good job my partner wasn't here to hear that, what you were saying about mansplaining and things like that. She would totally agree. Okay, any further questions from the room? Have a gentleman here at the front, please, and then we'll head over to the app next for the questions.
Hi. Simon Holt, Accessibility Lead at Elsevier. Thanks a lot for a really remarkable speech.
Thank
you. Quite a lot of my work is around making the content that we produce more accessible to people with disabilities. And thinking about the kinds of people that you talked about using the library from an inclusivity point of view, what role do you think that libraries have in making content available to people who learn in all kinds of different ways? So you talked a lot there about old books and that kind of thing, and digitization. That's amazing. People learn in different ways, and what role do you feel the library has in kind of encouraging that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hugely important. I mean, we do a lot of work in terms of trying to make all of our digital output accessible, and being aware of that and being aware of our documents. I used to be involved in an organisation about 14 years ago called Share the Vision that were based out of RNIB, and so I know that there are many, many ways that people can access things, whether it be by braille or audio or large print, and having my mum, as I said earlier, she is visually impaired, so I'm aware that there's no one size fits all. There's about individual preference, but also when we make things accessible, they're actually more accessible for everybody. There's nothing lost out of that. And if we start with that from the beginning and just make it accessible, then that's a really good place. And I think we have a role as well of having those conversations. One of the things that my mum had an issue with in COVID, for example, was the inability to use the test, because she couldn't read the instructions, she couldn't see, everything was too small. All the apps, everything was created, wasn't accessible because it was created in a rush and it wasn't taking users and putting them at the heart of it. We need to actually speak to people about what they need, what's useful for them, bring people in rather than creating stuff which we think is accessible and then putting it out there. And I think there's so much that we can learn, and we need to work in collaboration with experts in the field to be able to do that. But it's absolutely critical, important. This stuff belongs to everyone. That's one of the things I learned when I went to the Mitchell Library into that SAFE that time. Oh my God, this belongs to us, everybody, and it's our right to access it. That was left there. It's our heritage, and that includes all people in all different ways and all the ways that they might want to access it. And we really have a responsibility to do that. So I think it's critically important. Thanks for the question.
Lovely. I think we've got time for one more question. Do we have any questions on the app? No app questions. So do we have one more to take from the room, please? Or have we covered everything?
It's Nicky Ramsey, Edinburgh University Press. I was just wondering if you could say anything about the relationship between NLS and university libraries in Scotland, but further afield as well, if there's sort of any sort of collaborative work and learning back and forth between the two.
Yeah, we work really closely. So we're a member of RL UK, Research Libraries UK, and also SCURL. We're also involved in SCONL. Is Gillian here? Gillian? Oh, there she is there. So Gillian Daly, my colleague over there, is the Executive Director for the Scottish Confederation of University and Research Libraries, SCURL. And we... Gillian is hosted by the National Library. We work really closely in partnership and we do lots of things. And as I said earlier, Gillian has been doing fantastic work around creating a Scottish University Press, which please go and speak to her about and you'll get lots more detail, but really innovative and really exciting. Again, collaboration is the key. University libraries are all so different. I used to work at St Andrews University Library. I've worked at Strathclyde University as a library in my career as well. I'm really aware of the differences of different universities, of different needs, of different user groups, the different ways that they're set up. Also, college libraries are really important as well, and other research libraries, and sort of bringing those things together is really valuable and important. So, yes, we do have really strong connections. The way that we work, particularly around research and sort of building up that research infrastructure, partnering with academics, which is another thing I meant to mention about the AI, actually. We're involved in a number of research projects. We're involved in about 60 research projects across the library in any given year, and at various PhDs, and some of them are working with university libraries as well. So they're a really important network for us, and we work really closely and in partnership. Thank you.
Excellent.
And please don't feel you have to think of any more questions, but please don't be a stranger. My details are out there. You can see me on LinkedIn and Twitter. And please, I hope I get a chance to, thank you. Hope I get a chance to have a chat and a blether with you at some time over the conference. And look, the har has lifted and we have sun. This is Edinburgh at its best. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much, Amina. It only leaves me to hand over to your next session, who will be introduced by Kevin Worrell, who will be coming up to do his session on building community. So if Kevin can come up, please.